Okay, so in South Africa and in Africa generally, we have a bit more of a present relationship with our ancestors. This has become a big part of my work, and this is a song that a composer wrote in Northern Ireland. My brothers and my sisters and my mommy and my daddy, granny on my mama's side and on my daddy's side, great granddaddy, great grandmammy, all the way back, all the way back. My brothers and my sisters and my mommy and my daddy, granny on my mama's side and on my daddy's side, great granddaddy, great grandmammy, all the way back, all the way back. My brothers and my sisters and my mommy and my daddy, granny on my mama's side and on my daddy's side, great granddaddy, great grandmammy, all the way back, all the way back. Brothers and my sisters and my mommy and my daddy, granny on my mama's side and on my daddy's side, great granddaddy, great grandmammy, all the way back, all the way back. My brothers and my sisters and my mommy and my daddy, granny on my mama's side and on my daddy's side, great granddaddy, great grandmammy, all the way back, all the way back. Great! Give yourselves a round of applause. Please sit down. I think the ancestors are with us, certainly the Irish ones. Okay, so I was just an actor and kind of a bit bored with myself, but kind of enjoying acting and whatever. And then this guy arrived, Michael Lesak, in South Africa. He is from New York. He's American. Do you guys know what a red diaper baby is? So it's a kind of term that they use in America and New York for people who are kind of socialist leaning. They're kind of raised in socialist families. New York Jew, kind of very specifically socialist Jew, very anti-establishment, kind of raised in that environment. And he had a theater. He was a psychologist, trained psychologist, and then he kind of gave up psychology, thought it was a crap idea, and got into theater, thought that was a better idea. And then had a theater company in New York for 18 years called the Colonnades Theater Lab. And they did repertory theater, anything from Molière to Shakespeare to, I mean, you name it, more modern stuff as well. It was very renowned. Then he decided to go and finally make some money, so he went to Hollywood. And he directed a movie or two, a movie called House of Cards, but he got into TV directing and specifically sitcom directing, and he directed Taxi. I don't know, some of you may have remember Taxi from when you were very, very young. It was Danny DeVito and Andy Kaufman and those people. And then Grace Under Fire, the Bob Newhart Show, Everybody Loves Raymond. So he made a bit of money in Hollywood. And then in sort of 1999, 2000, he got absolutely gutful of Hollywood and just said, this is all bullshit. I don't want to be here. And the most interesting country that he could think of was South Africa. So he came here and he wanted to make a play about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in our country because it just happened, just finished. And he felt that the message of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission desperately needed to come to South Africa. To America. And he was very disappointed with American politics, with the kind of sort of dominant worldview that America had, and actively wanted to challenge it. So he came here to find out what the hell had gone on with this transition that we'd been through, and pretty soon realized that it wasn't a fairy tale. It's a tough transition that we're still going through. But to his credit, he kind of went, okay, well, let's make a play about that and how hard it was and how hard it still is to be in a changing environment. I got on board, and the first thing that I realized was that I really didn't want to be there because it was hard. We started talking about ancestors, actually. And I realized that I really was not particularly fond of my ancestors in this country, and not something that I wanted to deal with at all. In fact, I was very angry with my ancestors. And then we had we were workshopping this thing in the Magaliesberg. We were kind of starting to improvise and starting to write script and starting to sort of develop a play about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And I got in my car one night, and I was 3 days into it, and I thought, fuck this, I'm not doing it, I'm leaving. I'm an actor, I don't have to deal with my ancestors as well. You know, that's just nonsense, absolute nonsense. And I certainly don't have to deal with kind of the politics of this country. I'm an actor, I can be whoever I want, I can go back to being psychopaths, drug addicts, you know, anything that I want to be. I don't have to go into my past. Then I came back, and it was about 4 in the morning, and I thought, all right, you bastards, I'm going to talk to you. So I walked down to the river in Magaliesberg, and then I ran back to my house, and I went, oh, I've got to have an offering. If I'm going to talk to the ancestors, I've got to preferably slaughter something, but I'm not going to do that right now. So I got the piece of dark chocolate that my wife had left it half eaten in my bag, and I took that and I unwrapped that and I put it on a rock in the river, and I said, all right, I've never spoken to you before. Now's the time. So I invite you to come and advise me on what on earth I'm doing in this production about you, and about my past, and about this country, and about the future, and about my children, and about all sorts of things. And I said, I'm very angry with you, and I don't want to be. And I chatted to them for about 3 hours before rehearsal. And that moment shifted my whole life. And I kind of went, no, this is exactly where I need to be. This is precisely where I need to be. So we started rehearsing this play. And it was very, very difficult. It was one of the most difficult things I've ever done. But it was incredibly rewarding at the same time. And the play was about the translators in the Truth Commission. Did anybody see Truth in Translation? It was on at the Market Theatre about 8 years ago now. But it's about the translators in the Truth Commission. Now, we have 11 official languages in South Africa. And so we needed translators to travel with this commission wherever they went for 3 years, all over the country, to school halls, to churches, to big cities, to small towns. This group of translators, and everybody kind of forgot about them. But they were translating all the testimony in the first person. So think about that. They were translating it for the perpetrators and for the victims. And they were using I. So just to give you an example, a perpetrator would be up on the stand and saying, I took my 9mm and I shot her child twice. That woman there in the room. I shot her twice. That same afternoon, he would translate for the woman. And she would say, I watched as that man over there shot my child twice with his gun. So the translator, this stuff would go through the translator. They became the pipes through which information flowed. And they were supposed to be only the pipes through which information flowed. But of course, how do you do that? How do you not become involved? You have to be. And nobody kind of thought, my God, these guys need some counseling and, you know, whatever. So they sat for 3 years translating in the first person all of South Africa's testimony about what had gone on in our past. Apartheid. And there it was, laid to bear. So we did this play about this. And the only other people that do that are actors. We take things on in the first person. I don't say, so my character over there, what he did was, he did this and this and this. I become the character. I am. It's the first person. That's what I do. So in a way, there's no escape. Not for an actor and not for the translators. So it was a really interesting piece about actors playing translators going with the Truth Commission. We opened not in South Africa, but in Rwanda. Yeah, we opened in Rwanda, and which was absolutely extraordinary performing because, well, as you all know, in 1994, when we were lining up for our first democratic elections, and the world's press had their lens focused on us, they didn't have their lens focused in Rwanda at all, and in 3 months, 800,000 people died. And the world had not stopped it. So, Truth in Translation ended up touring, this is actually wrong, I'm sorry, this is 26 cities, but effectively we did 3 continents, 11 countries, and 53 cities. We did mostly conflict zones, or post-conflict zones, or post-conflict countries. Zones sounds a bit like hardcore. Countries, effectively, that had gone through conflict. So we were in Northern Ireland, we were in the Balkans, Kosovo, Bosnia, Serbia, Croatia, as I said, Rwanda. But then also, we toured places like the United States. And that was also a conflict zone. I mean, you want to know about conflict, go to the United States. So this is some of the images from the play, you know, translating booths. And we took on kind of some of the benzene stuff and just all the kind of commission stuff that happened. But what was amazing is that we did workshops wherever we went with young people, and this is where we start to get into the whole sort of childhood thing. Young people, we got a dialogue going about the past, about forgiveness, about justice, about reconciliation. But what was great is we didn't ask people. We weren't a group of UN ambassadors or politicians or whatever coming in to ask people to forgive or to reconcile or to whatever. We were just coming in as actors saying, we did this play and about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. We're quite critical of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission as well. We didn't say, oh, this is the greatest thing. We were very critical of what it was and how perhaps it failed as well on many, many levels. And we kind of came in, we were a ragtag bunch. We just came in to, you know, you come into Kosovo and you come into Pristina and there are still machine gun nests up on the top of the hotels, you know. And the people that come to the show are victims of landmines, victims of shootings, victims of whatever, ex-soldiers, ex-prisoners, all of that kind of stuff. And so we would come in and we would just perform our piece and we would get a dialogue going. We couldn't believe, actually, how people had started to talk in the theater after the play. What was really interesting was that we reflected one conflict in another. So we were just doing a piece about our conflict, about South Africa. And what happened was people saw in that conflict their own conflict. And for the first time, they could go, yes, what we can't verbalize about our conflict, we see in another conflict. So it became much easier to start the debate. And of course, you go, as theater does, or story does, as narrative does, it goes straight to the emotional route. That's what's exciting about watching a play, is when it gets emotional. And so we weren't just dryly going, oh, well, you know, Kosovo has this many deaths and this many guns still floating around and this many murders happening and this and that. It was straight into the emotional root of it, the humor of it, the madness of it. And they got that. They understood that. So it was a very interesting tour. The Global Arts Call, after the tour, I thought, shit, I got to get a serious job, man. I can't like go around the world doing this. And I've just got a daughter, and I thought I've got to earn some regular money, and I've got to stop being a rubbish, you know, and kind of. So I got a job in a soap opera, and within 6 months, I had gone mad, and I'm not kidding. I had a bit of a sort of nervous breakdown. I thought, this is much harder than being in Kosovo with machine gun nests, and much more difficult than dealing with people who had lost their legs in, you know, to landmines. And I mean, it really, soap operas are, in my opinion, kind of death. I mean, they really are death. I don't know who watches them here, but don't. Anyway, I was crippled by this thing. And then I got a call from my friend Michael Lesak saying, listen, why don't we do this in the world? Why don't we make plays in post-conflict environments with people? And as our sort of, I suppose our mandate, we take it from Nelson Mandela. Can we forgive the past to survive the future? And we ask that of everybody we go to. And, you know, we're not saying we can or we can't, but we're just asking the question, can we? And so what we do now is we make live theater in post-conflict countries around the world, utilizing artists, actors, writers, designers, musicians, poets, journalists from those countries. We call it the Global Art School. I'm not entirely happy with the name, but it kind of encapsulates all the different things that we work with. Effectively, we do live theater, but we called it the it's like kind of like the Peace Corps, but it's kind of using arts. We interact with former combatants, prisoners, victims groups, and we look for stories. At the moment, we're working in Kosovo, Serbia, and working with the Roma. So I don't know how much you know about the Balkans conflict, but it's been going on for about 1,300 years. It started in the 7th century, really. So, you know, you talk about ancestors and being prisoner to your ancestors. It becomes very relevant when you're talking about Kosovo and Serbia. It's a very difficult conflict to understand, very complex, but at the same time not. It's about people, it's about human beings. And we've included the Roma in this because the Roma are the forgotten. They've buried the bodies on both sides. You know, for the Serb massacres, for the Albanian massacres, they're rounded up and they get forgotten. They bury the bodies. So doing a play through the lens of the Roma, looking at this conflict, is actually quite an interesting piece. We're working in Northern Ireland, and I'm going to speak more specifically about that because I've just finished a play. We took a whole bunch of Northern Irish actors out of Belfast, and we took them to Boston, and we workshopped a play there, and we performed it there, and a lot of expat Irish in Boston, and so we did a piece there. But that's specifically in Northern Ireland. We're also working with children. Cambodia is another place we're working with a circus of children. It's a children's circus. And we're doing a piece about the Khmer Rouge. I don't know how much you know about the Khmer Rouge, but the 1975 to 1979, there was a genocide in that country where 2 million people were killed. Their own people. So not even like, you know, Serbs and Albanians or black and white or whatever it is. These were people killing their own people. And now you have a generation of young people who simply don't know why it happened because nobody talks about it. Absolutely nobody talks about it. There's a culture of silence there. It's a communist in state still, and the party at the top just says, look, there's no ways we're talking about this. Some of the former Khmer Rouge combatants are actually in government now, running refuse and social services and, you know, all of this kind of stuff. So it's a very, very poor country. So we've come across this incredible circus in Battambang, which is probably about 2 hours or 3 hours drive from Angkor Wat, the temples. And this circus has operated for the last 18 years. And they came out of a refugee camp. So they were in Thailand in a refugee camp, and they came out of Thailand and they formed this circus just because they had nothing else to do, and they started training, and then they got help from the French and help from the Canadians, and now we're doing a piece about delving into your past. And how dangerous is it? And it's a piece called Landmines, tentatively, because we're doing a piece about, well, how does when you start to dig in your own soul, what's going to blow up? You still have landmines littering the landscape in Cambodia, but 2 a week in the town that we're in. Anyway, that's Cambodia. Canada, South Africa. We're working in South Africa, but wait, what? Canada? Post-conflict? No, surely not. Canada, I don't know if any of you know this, are in the middle of their own Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Do any of you know this? It's about the Native American Indians and the tribes, over 600 tribes that still exist there, and the schools, the Christian schools that were set up to expressly take away the children of the indigenous people, just like they did in Australia, in order to raise them in Christian households. Unfortunately, these households and orphanages were not very well funded, so there was a lot of abuse, there was a lot of sexual abuse, there was a lot of killing. These children died, and it's very, I mean, just to give you an idea of how recent this thing is, the last school closed in 1996. And so, and here's a little interesting anecdote. So, 1948, the Nationalist Party takes charge in South Africa. They send a delegation to Canada. And they say, how did you deal? What did you do with your Indian population, your Native American Indian population? Well, we put them in reserves. Great idea. Maybe we should copy that. Homelands in South Africa was from Canada and America, but Canada sort of gave them the idea of how. 2001, the Canadians sent a delegation to South Africa. You guys had a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, right? How did you do that? So they set up this thing, and it's currently running. They're very embarrassed about it. That's why there's been no press about it. That's why no one knows about it. Canada is the land of the free. You know, it's incredibly liberal. They support liberal causes. They welcome immigrants-ish, and suddenly they're having a Truth and Reconciliation Commission about a rather ugly skeleton in their closet. And we've been asked to come in and create a piece of theatre that will then tour Canada and possibly other parts of the world about this, and using Native American Indians, the Inuit, and some of the a lot of the tribes people that still exist there. So anyway, that was just an interesting sort of side. But this is important. I've mentioned it before, but what we do is we create these plays, and we don't even necessarily play them in the places that we create them. Like, for instance, in Cambodia, we're aiming to create a production by 2016. I don't know that we're even going to be allowed to show it in Cambodia. What we will be allowed to do is show it in South Africa or show it in Canada, and get a sense of, and people watching it then get a sense of their own conflict mirrored in that conflict. So that's become a really important part of what we do. So what has acting got to do with reconciliation and whatever? So I just want to quickly go through what we do what I've done as an actor, and kind of what my ancestors taught me or showed me or gave to me, was this idea that actually I am involved in my past, in other people's past, and actually as an actor, I'm very concerned with the past. Improvisation. I don't know if any of you know the book, Keith Johnston's book, Impro, which is a sort of a landmark book about improvisation and about the rules of improvisation. Rules of improvisation. A lot of you have seen comedy games, right? You go see these comedy games, and where they improvise things. So the audience shouts out something, and you improvise something. And the same thing works for drama. You know, the same rules apply. The biggest rule in improvisation is that you can't say no. Not allowed to say no. So if somebody offers you something, and an offer can be a sentence of dialogue, whatever. So I say to somebody, you are so fucking ugly. You really are. They're not allowed to say, no, I'm not. Because it kills it. It kills the improvisation. What they can do is, maybe, but you're stupid. So accept the offer and give something back. Already then you've got dialogue. That's how you create dialogue. So the whole rule of never saying no, never ever saying no, is to create dialogue, which is what you need in countries that haven't talked to each other for 1,300 years. You need a system where you never say no. It's not allowed. On the floor. You're working in Serbia, Kosovo, and people are not allowed to say no. So this massacre happened, and this happened, and you raped my family 3 generations back, and you supported the Nazis, and we didn't, and we hid the Jews, and you supported there's all this kind of stuff. And the First World War, whose side were you on? And which rages. Who stabbed the Sultan in 1235? Was it the Serbs or was it the Albanians? In the Battle of Kosovo. Who claims the right to own this land? Who owns the land? Same issues that maybe we've got in this country. But when nobody's allowed to say no, it becomes really interesting. Rehearsal. So, again, I'll use the example of somewhere like Serbia. This is was in Mitrovica, a guy. And he says, how can you ask me to forgive? How? You do not understand the bitter history of the Balkan. In the 16th, the 17th, the 18th century, the Serbs, they passed through the hell. They passed through the hell. So you go, okay, I'm not asking you to forgive. That's not my mandate. I'm an actor. Let's rehearse. The scene is about somebody forgiving somebody else. It's in the first person. Now you're an actor. Can you do this? Can you play the part? And you begin to rehearse and rehearse. And rehearsal opens up a space inside you emotionally to know that something is possible. Because as an actor, you've got to be able to rehearse to a point where everybody else believes what you say. So if you can manage to believe that, then everybody else starts to as well. And it's just an interesting way of understanding that. Transformation. Reconciliation is a dirty word, even in this country, okay? We reconciled at the expense of true transformation, economic transformation. So goes certain thought processes in this country. Right, wrong, agree, don't agree, not the point. But the point is, elsewhere in the world, reconciliation is also a dirty word. Northern Ireland, we don't want to flip and reconcile. Fuck you, we hate you. I'll tolerate you, but I'm not going to reconcile. I don't want to forgive. Transformation is a more interesting word for people because everybody wants to transform the society. Actors transform. Multiple truths. Actors understand the idea of being in 2 places at once. I am Nick Boraine, and I'm also playing a psychopathic killer who is, for the next 2 hours on stage, going to play a certain part. I am 2 things at once. At the same time, I am 2 people. In post-conflict environments, that's very important. And also, as all you creatives know, conflict is good, right? I mean, conflict, we welcome conflict. In script writing, we look for conflict. We look for Act 1, where's the conflict? Act 2, where's the conflict? So conflict is good. So we welcome it. We just don't want people killing each other. Okay, so essential to the process, I'm going to speed through this because I've got a movie to show you, but humor, music, ancestors, and specifically children. I was like, what? Children? Really? Come on. What have children got to do with this? Well, kids understand the idea of play better than anybody. And that's what I do. I make plays. I play. Just play. Because that's the most important thing. They understand improvisation. They don't say no. They can interact with each other endlessly. They wear fewer masks. As we get older, we tend to put on masks and what have you. And we are their living ancestors. So we are already, in this room, ancestors to our children. And we owe them to listen to them, to understand them, and to create a world where they can already move into. Like our ancestors are trying to communicate with us, we have to communicate with our children, even in this world of conflict. This is the Cambodian circus. I wanted to talk a little bit about that, but I'm going to move straight on to this. Sorry, that's another picture of the circus. These guys are absolutely amazing. They're called Phar Panler Silpak, which means the brightness of the arts, and they are incredible. Belfast. So in Belfast, while we worked with the adults, we also worked with children a lot, and specifically a group called the Talent Tribe, and they were absolutely extraordinary because they really gave us a huge amount to work with the adults. I don't know how much you guys know about Belfast, but just the movie that I'm about to show you is just to set the scene. The Good Friday Agreement was signed in 1999. Prisoners were released. It's not just about Catholics and Protestants. It's also about a liberation struggle. It's also about defending your homeland. It's about terrorists, depending on which angle you see it from. It's not that many people died in the conflict, but it was a slow burning conflict that caused a lot of pain, a lot of hardship, and still is very present today. One of the physical manifestations, and you'll see it in this movie, is that in 1999 they had 20 what they call peace walls, which are 16-meter high walls where you can't throw a Molotov cocktail over, that protect neighborhoods. In 2014, they now have 80 peace walls in Belfast. So, as a physical manifestation, we have our own physical manifestation in this country. We divide it into suburbs and electric fences, and we have our own walls. We all have our own walls, but these guys have some serious walls. And we wondered what the children of Belfast would want in 50 years' time or 150 years' time. What would Belfast look like? What would they want Belfast to look like? So we did this workshop, and this is the movie. My brothers and my sisters and my mommy and my daddy, granny on my mama's side and on my daddy's side. Great granddaddy, great great grandmammy, all the way back, all the way back again. My brothers and my sisters and my mommy and my daddy, granny on my mama's side. Our goal is to use the arts to help with conflict resolution, to use plays as catalysts for dialogue.
They can rehearse forgiveness. They can rehearse reconciliation. They can rehearse getting along. They can rehearse being with each other, and they do it very, very well. Even though they may have to go back to neighborhoods which teach them still to be suspicious of the other side of the wall, what happens here is they become an ensemble.
My brother's best friend was a guy from Dublin, and they were friends for 25 years. The guy from Dublin just assumed my brother was a Catholic, which he wasn't. But he just all assumed that for 25 years, and the day that he found out that he was a Protestant, the friendship ended like that. My brother couldn't believe it.
When we were going to school, we were getting chased to school because we had to go through certain areas. We were living in fear all the time, that's it.
Why do you think they put up walls?
Some sort of people a couple of 100 years back had a feuding and they don't want something like that to happen again between the two sides, so they put up this giant green fence.
There's a wall at the back of my street.
What do you think about that?
I didn't really know what it was for at the start, but
Right.
I just like, why is the wall there?
Do you think they should take that one down? I mean, what's on the other side of that?
I don't know.
Do you want to know?
My brothers and my sisters and my mommy and my daddy, granny on my mama's side and on my daddy's side. Nice, nice.
You think that history, stops, but it's filtered down into future generations and we're not really sure why, because nothing's really explained as much as somebody that maybe lived through the time.
Great-granddaddy, great-great-granddaddy, all the way back, all the way back.
The default stance in Northern Ireland with adults when it comes to doing a play like this is a kind of cynical stance. It's a closed down stance.
I was leaning definitely in the sceptical end, and it completely won me over. This is a ball. Ball. I've worked all around the world as an actor, and this is a very special opportunity.
I'm not staying.
I think it's a different pitch of children's voices. There's an honesty. One of the songs that we kind of tended to sing in an American accent, and they just straight in there with their own accents.
Anymore.
They had this real beauty of just honestly singing. Singing's good for people.
The idea is to talk about cities with these kids, and specifically the city of Belfast, and specifically reimagining Belfast. What other things do you need in a city?
Beach, landmarks.
If I was running the town, like the way over here younger people drink, I would make the thing 21 to drink, and so I would, and I get the people to stand outside, and I'd see where they're going and I'd follow them.
In the West, we see arts as entertainment, whereas in Latin America and in Asia and in Africa, people see the arts and storytelling in particular as a medium for social change.
We can say things in theatre that nobody else can say, make people listen to things differently, and give them a good night out, give them entertainment, but at the same time we can provoke people to rethink and relook at the society that they're living in.
There's yours.
The children have spent the last 2 days basically imagining what a new Belfast would be like in the next 50, 100, 150 years, and kind of getting away from the way things are and the way that they want them to be.
Tell your partner the worst experience that you can remember in Belfast.
And my granddad choked me.
So I hope you listened very, very, very well, because you're going to tell your partner's story.
So I was on the phone with my daddy going, Daddy, I'm lost, I don't know where I am. He goes, well, where are you? If I knew that, I wouldn't be lost. There was people over fighting and all, we were just putting our heads down like, please don't get us involved.
Some of the young people, there is no doubt that they have felt more pain, seen more darkness than you and I will ever see.
What's your name, honey?
With Sasha, there certainly was issues to do with low self-esteem.
The first time I took her to a talent tribe, she was terrified. She was absolutely terrified. She sat in my knee and she just watched.
Just for her social skills, there has been an incredible development. To watch her now singing at the top of her voice is just phenomenal.
I have seen a big change in Sasha. Her confidence now, she's still quiet, but she hasn't got that enormous fear that she used to have.
I'm not waiting. They are going to inherit what we leave them. And that's an onerous responsibility.
I'm still here. They have the power to imagine and to realize that vision as they get older, about how to change their city, how to visualize something that they can really respect and believe in.
I do think things will start to change. May not happen in the generation coming behind, but certainly the generation behind that, I really do have high hopes.
They've bonded because of the work, of the creativity. I couldn't but describe the work that has been done in these days as life-changing for some of these kids. They'll never forget it.
And they said to my father, if you don't go to the army, we'll kill you.
We got medals for what we did! Senzenina, 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 Senzenina.
Will you forgive those responsible for your son's death?
Not today, Ndana.
Because, dear God, you said a human